Welcome to In Focus on this Sunday, August 10th, 2025. I'm Dean Meminger, filling in for Cheryl Wills. Harlem Week is now in full swing, putting a spotlight on the community's business, educational, and arts institutions. And on this Sunday's In Focus, we speak with New York Attorney General Letitia James about the late Dr. Hazel Dukes and Charlie Rangel. They are honored as a part of this year's Harlem Week. Plus, we learn more about the legacy of Hazel Dukes with NAACP New York President L, Lloyd Williams, who tells us just what kind of impact she left behind. And later, we remember Lloyd Williams. Harlem Week's second vice chair, Marko breaks down his influence on the community. All that and so much more happening now on In Focus. Let's begin today's conversation with New York Attorney General Letitia James. Great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Dean.
As you know, this show is a tribute to Dr. Hazel Dukes and Charlie Rangel. We lost both of them this past year. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with each of them?
It's sort of bittersweet. You know, this past week we lost Lloyd Williams, who was the head of the Harlem Chamber of Commerce and who gave birth to Harlem Week. And so we're celebrating Harlem Week. And so we should not mourn his death. We should celebrate his life and celebrate the magic of Harlem. And these two giants that you speak of, Mama Dukes, we affectionately refer to her as Ma Dukes, and of course Charlie Rangel. Ma Dukes used to call me periodically because she wanted to mentor me, and she mentored me over the years. And she said, "Tish, now that you're a senior amongst all of the young individuals, I need you to show them how to lead, how to stand up, how to be strong." And Charlie Rangel would often refer to me as that girl from Brooklyn, that girl from Brooklyn. For over 20 some odd years, he didn't know my name. He just kept referring to me as that girl from Brooklyn. And I responded, and I didn't mind.
A lot of people joke about that. He always had a nickname for someone. Can you talk about how they inspired you and your work in public service?
Well, in regards to Mama Dukes, as you know, she was head of the NAACP. And this past week, we celebrate 60 years of the Voting Rights Act. And she was instrumental in getting more individuals registered to vote because she recognized that from voting, all rights emanated. She also was focused on social justice and the advancement of people of color, the advancement of women and all minority groups. And she was someone who did not hold her tongue. If she had something to say, that she would say it loudly and proudly. And as far as Charlie Rangel, the Lion of Lenox Avenue, what I remember him is he was just, he legislated, he authored so many bills, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, which right now is being threatened, the low-income tax credits, which is being dismantled, earned income tax credit, which is being dismantled, and he authored the Affordable Care Act. All of those initiatives right now, given the challenges from Washington, D.C., are being dismantled. And so I remember those two giants. I remember Lloyd Williams, but they instilled in me the ability to stand up and speak out and to use the law both as a sword and as a shield. And so that's what I think about when I think of these legends.
And you just mentioned some of this when it comes to Hazel Dukes, but you know, she was an icon when it comes to social justice and civil rights. 7 decades with the NAACP and a leadership role fighting for diversity, equity, and inclusion. What would you think she would say if she was still alive today when it comes to the ongoing battle from the government to dismantle DEI?
It's an ongoing onslaught against DEI. DEI now is a dirty word as far as the federal government is concerned. And DEI, it only represents the fact that individuals need to be at the table. That's it, not guaranteed results, and not even guaranteed outcomes, but the fact that individuals obviously have access to power. And so what she would have told me, what she would have whispered in my ear or maybe yelled at me by saying, "Tish, continue to file those lawsuits, stand up for DEI, stand up for who you are, recognize that you stand on the shoulders of giants and continue to do the work of the Attorney General." And Charlie would say, that girl from Brooklyn, she obviously knows how to speak her mind. She is fearless, just like he was. He was not afraid of anything. And so I stand here in their power and recognizing that I would not be in their position but for Ma Dukes and Charlie Rangel.
And once again, you're mentioning a lot of things that I want to talk about. Do you think Hazel Dukes, was she the key person or one of the main people to open the door, maybe kick open the door for you as a black woman to become the first black woman elected New York Attorney General?
She was obviously critical, but there were so many others who allowed me to walk through those doors. She shattered glass ceilings, and as a result of that, so many individuals entered. There are so many women of color in the state legislature, in the city council, because of Ma Dukes, because of Charlie Rangel, because of the voting rights, because of all of the initiatives that they sponsored and all of the laws that Charlie Rangel passed. And so it's important that individuals understand that legacy, and we have to keep that legacy alive. And now, the individuals who represent Harlem, the Jordan Wrights and the Cordell Clears and, the council member, they have got to pick up the mantle and lead with integrity and lead with leadership and let individuals know who they represent. And I know, Councilmember Salam does that each and every day in focusing on criminal justice reform.
And as we said, we are honoring them here on this show, but during Harlem Week, Hazel Dukes, Charlie Rangel will be honored. Now, you mentioned, and Charlie mentioned it to you, you're from BK, you're from Brooklyn,
yes.
But are there any festivities uptown that you're looking forward to participating in when it comes to Harlem Week?
Well, I just opened up Harlem Week this past week. I attended an event at the State Harlem Office Building. It was a senior event, and we talked a lot about Lloyd Williams. The seniors were dancing and they were exercising, jazz exercise. They were talking about history. They were talking about all of the initiatives right now which are being dismantled by this administration, the federal administration, and how we've got to stand up and be proud, but we've got to push back and fight back. And we cannot be fearful. This is a time to be fearless. And so seeing all of those seniors, seeing all of them who have embraced their age, and seeing all of them, seeing through their eyes all that we have overcome as a people, it's really critically important that individuals understand who they are, their legacy, and stand up for what is right.
All right, Attorney General Letitia James, thank you for your time.
I appreciate you.
All right, and still to come, everyone, we talk with one of the directors of Harlem Week, what you need to know. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, everyone, as we highlight Harlem Week. Joining us now is Lloyd Williams, president of the NAACP New York State Conference. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
First off, let's talk about the legacy of Dr. Hazel Dukes, the previous president of the NAACP.
One of the things about Dr. Dukes is that not only did she love the state and love NAACP, but she absolutely loved Harlem. Okay. That was her adopted home, having come from Long Island to New York City. And during this time of Harlem Week, which is really Harlem Month,
yes, right. Those are a long time.
Part of her legacy was in celebrating the great legacy and the rich history of Harlem and the people, primarily African American, who made Harlem what it is, but then also the intergenerational nature. And NAACP is proud to be a part of the activities that are going on, not only to recognize her contributions and that of Congressman Rangel, but also to make sure that we're continuing that legacy of engagement.
Now, you are the president of the state conference for the NAACP. When did you take over that leadership role for New York?
Yeah. So when Ms. Dukes passed back in March, I was vice president, and so I assumed the presidency from there. And I served for a number of times, not only in the state roles, but as president of the Brooklyn branch.
Okay, representing BK.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the association's state conference. It was started back in 1978, if I believe correctly, 78. And Hazel Dukes was a part of getting the state, started with the conference. How important was that?
I think it was important, obviously, NAACP being born here in New York State and has had representation here since its founding and continuing to expand this democracy to be inclusive of the people who helped build it, that being people of African descent. And now we're close to 54 branches across the state of New York, close over 12,000 members and growing. And so to take on this legacy after her great organizing and work on a year I was born, and to take on that means that I was sort of born into this, right? Like to take on this great organizing role.
Talk a little bit about some of the major accomplishments of the NAACP in New York. When people think of the NAACP, historically, they're thinking about southern states.
Yeah.
But what do you think some of the accomplishments have been here in New York?
Well, there's obviously the connection to the southern part of the country because you have the Great Migration and a lot of people coming here from there. And so for a lot of people, they raised money and organized here in the state of New York for issues that were happening in the South because they recognized the connection to all of us. In addition, racism wasn't just excluded to the South. So there were very key cases, not here in the state conference, but our branches were involved in expanding equal access and equity here in the state of New York, from insurance companies that were discriminating against Black folks to the great desegregation of education here in the state of New York. And then you can go upstate and to the Midwest and the Hudson region, and also there's work in the Western region that NAACP branches were involved in to expand access to jobs, to housing. So we'll be celebrating all of that. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 90th at our convention.
Yeah, and a lot of people fail to remember sometimes that there was slavery right here in New York City.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you talk about social activism, it's very important nowadays with the government's ongoing battle against DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is the NAACP doing to make sure that people and communities, that they are not moving backwards?
Yeah, I mean, that is our key focus. And if you go to our website, you see we're not going back, right? Okay. And not that while we are here. And, we have great roots in, as I said at the top, expanding this democracy, not just for African Americans, not people of African descent, but for the entire country. Every move that we have made as the NAACP, as Black folks in general, we have expanded the franchise of voting to everyone. We have expanded resources for housing, for jobs, for organizing. We have expanded it for everyone. And we intend to do that, to not only be in a defensive posture to defend what is happening, but also be on the offensive to expand beyond your imagination what this country could be in an inclusive economy, an inclusive, equitable democracy overall.
And you mentioned next year will be 90 years for the state conference, but this year coming up in the fall in October, celebrating 89 years, that convention happening. I think you said, I spoke to you earlier about, it's on Long Island.
Yes,
right?
We'll be at the Long Island Marriott
and
this
you'll
year.
be celebrating Hazel Duke. So what will that convention be like?
Well, we're looking forward to anyone who is committed to social equity, social justice, to participating in the convention. We will, of course, be honoring Ms. Dukes. This is our first convention without her, but we'll be honoring her in the true spirit of doing the work. So to be engaging with our young people, making sure they have the tools and resources to continue the engagement. And then we'll also be setting an agenda, a Black agenda here in the state of New York and across the country of issues we'll continue to work on.
All right, Lloyd Williams, thank you so much, the state leader for the NAACP. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, time for a quick break, everyone. We remember Lloyd Williams, who passed away this past week at the age of 80. In Focus continues right after this. Stay with us.
With the closing word, rejoice, being the key word that we want the city, the region, the state, but particularly Harlemites, and Harlem is a state of mind. So wherever you are in a Harlem state of mind, we want you in Harlem Week during that period.
That's Lloyd Williams on In Focus. Back in 2021, he was the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce president and CEO, as well as Harlem Week co-founder. He sadly passed away this past week. He was 80 years old. And joining us now is Marko Noble's second vice chairman of Harlem Week. Let's start here. So sorry for your loss, because Lloyd was a friend of this show.
Yes, thank you so much, Dean. It's a tremendous loss. It's hard to imagine. Lloyd's one of those people that you figure would always be here, but unfortunately, life says that at some point we must transition.
What did he mean to the community of Harlem?
I think he in many ways was the community of Harlem. He embodied the importance of community. If you saw Lloyd or were around Lloyd, he was going to embrace you as long as he saw you were, really about doing the right thing. And you can build together. Community was so important to him, and Harlem was ultra important to him, with him having roots in the Harlem community since the early 1900s.
All right, let's switch gears now and talk about Harlem Week. As you know, on this show, we have been saluting Hazel Dukes and Charlie Rangel. They are being saluted during Harlem Week.
Absolutely.
What does that mean, and why salute them this year?
Well, they were, instrumental throughout the growth of Harlem Week, from those early years. Certainly I'll say forever, Congressman Charles Rangel, was there from the beginning. Hazel Dukes there from almost the beginning, and them always being there with us. Where we are going to salute them on Harlem Day is at our Fifth Avenue main stage in the block that they both lived in. They would, come from their homes and come and sit out at the stage and just watch, sometimes not even coming to speak, to just be a part and watch the community performers, the youth performers present scholarships and really celebrate with the community. So we honor them and continue to honor their legacy throughout Harlem Week.
What's the theme and mission for this year?
The theme is Celebrate Our Magic. Attorney General Letitia James talked earlier about DEI rollbacks, etc. And when we looked at those things as a board of Harlem Week, we looked at the importance of celebrating who we are, and goes back to originally Lloyd loving Harlem, and the mission of the original Harlem Day is to celebrate a community that at that time was overlooked and forgotten and neglected, but really being able to say, we are special, we are here. And so Celebrate Our Magic follows in that tradition. We celebrate the magic of our community, of our people, not just in Harlem, but in the Harlems of the world, worldwide.
Harlem Week started as one day, I believe, back in 1974, 51 years ago.
Yes.
And how has it changed over the years? Because definitely it's even more than a week nowadays. Some people say Harlem Week, but it's really a lot longer.
Yes. And at one point it was a lot longer than it is now. I mean, at one point we had grown to a 6-week week. We said only in Harlem can you have a week that lasts, well over a month. But one of the biggest changes, which is, a worldwide change, is the pandemic. The pandemic forced Harlem Week and many other activities to become a hybrid festival. So we have events that are live in person, but also online on our website, harlemweek.com. So we're able to showcase our youth through our youth conference and through our hackathon. We have our Senior Citizens Day that we can have seniors live, but also they can watch online at home. Of course, we have events that people love to come out to, with the concerts and the vendors, but those who are around the world who can't be there in person can be able to have a little bit of Harlem come to them. So that's one of the biggest changes of Harlem. It allows us to grow in ways we never imagined.
Now, that's wonderful that people can go online and take part in some of these festivities.
Yep.
Even if they want to be a part of Harlem, never been here, or if they are from Harlem and moved away.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, because Harlem Week has been going on now for more than a week, but we have more events to go. Talk about some of those upcoming festivities and other things that people can come out and enjoy.
One of them that's really huge is on the 13th, on Wednesday. We have our New York City Jobs and Career Fair at the City College of New York. Some 50 some odd businesses, companies, et cetera, will be there looking to interview people, for jobs, available jobs, and get people to work. We invite people to come out and you'll be able to have interviews in hand, come out with your resume in hand, so you can talk to people and get interviews on the spot. We also have a banking and finance session taking place with our partner Chase and a number of other financial institutions, talking about access to capital, proper business banking, all of those types of things. We have an online economic development day that is taking place, again on our website, harlemweek.com, and that is being able to have people talk about business cybersecurity, And, again, access to capital, MWBE, and how do you participate in those programs and grow your business that way. So, and then of course there are big days of Summer in the City and Harlem Day, both on 135th Street, that everybody's aware of, that they come out and they enjoy the vendors and the food and the, arts and crafts shopping, and then of course the concerts, and we have our children's festival and doing
just a lot to do.
A lot of stuff going on.
More than a week. All right.
Absolutely.
Marko Nobles, thank you so much for talking to us about Harlem Week.
Thank you so much.
And now our final focus. As we said earlier in our show, Harlem Week runs until August 17th. For a schedule of events as well as details on the Harlem Music Festival, please check out their website, harlemweek.com. All right, thanks for watching In Focus. I'm Dean Meminger. We appreciate you spending your Sunday with us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more. We'll see you there.